This is Group A. We did the song A Boy and a Girl by Eric Whittaker. My name's Jackson, and we're all going to go around and say our first listen. My emotional feeling I got from the song was pretty calming. The singers' pitches were high and low through the song. As with the dynamic of the singers, they held a loud voice expressing about the boy and the girl, which then led to me to think about the word painting going on in the story, and how they would hold out such long or short articulate words, almost as if they were speaking to each other. Every time it got low, they would stop talking to each other. I also picked up the phrase, a boy and a girl, was spoken repeatedly, telling us who we were listening to as the story went on.
Hey, my name's Martin. For my first listen, not a lot happened for me for the first time. In terms of dynamics, everything was kind of soft. Pitch relatively low, there was some high times. As for timbre, again, not really a lot of instruments, more so vocality. Color kind of smooth, maybe somewhat deep. Word painting a lot, because you can definitely hear it towards the beginning of the song, and as the song plays out, a lot of vocalizing and lyrics, and what they're saying, painting the story of a boy and a girl. So yeah, not really a leitmotif in there. Narration somewhat. Theme of the song again, boy and a girl, and the melody kind of plays on a lot. A lot of motifs happen, like it goes from high to low, from high to low, in that kind of slope kind of graph. But yeah, it just stays relatively constant throughout the whole, at least for my first listen. So.
Okay, my name is also Martin. I agree with Martin. At the beginning of the song, I didn't really feel anything. But with the voices, it felt like very soft and maybe even heavenly. That's what I felt. Or like something rising. Mostly because of the articulation, it was soft, pianissimo. And yeah, then the dynamic, very low notes, making the song, mostly because of the voices, feel very soft.
My name is Caleb Diaz, and in my first listen, I had a sensation of the color being very light and airy. And I noticed that the tone was kind of like fluctuating between the boy and the girl, and the dissonance between the singers, the a cappella part of it. It's kind of like the different singers had different like sonic signatures, and they melted together into one specific like consistent melody which goes up and down, and it made me feel like sad, wistful, nostalgic. Like I believe that the author's intent was to my emotion on my first listen was kind of like I was caught off guard by the sudden swings in melody, but it also felt kind of like sad. It felt like a longing for the past, and it had waves of motion that I couldn't quite predict. And yeah.
I'm Kaylee, and I think I agree with what both of the Martins said, that it's like it had sort of an angelic sound to it, but I didn't really get much off of my first listen, mainly because I was trying to figure out what the words were saying and I just couldn't figure it out. Like all I kept hearing was a boy and a girl. But as for the pitch, I feel like the pitch was kind of fluctuating between high and low. The dynamic kind of stayed like the same soft, calming thing the entire time. But unlike Caleb, I feel like the song made me feel like happy and like hopeful and stuff like that. But yeah.
My name is Norielas, and when I first listened to this piece, the first thing I noticed was how welcoming it sounded. And I almost felt like I was being led into heaven. It almost felt like the choir had such a gentle sound that it reminded me of floating on water. It immediately caught my attention, especially because of the repeated melody stretched out right from the beginning. I also really like the word painting there because the choir stretches out the words by holding them longer over the notes, which makes the lyrics feel even more expressive.
I'm Azariah Draper, And when I first heard the song, it was like very calming, like everyone said. It like kind of put me in a state of realization because I was a bit, discombobulated before I listened to it. But like overall, I think with the dynamics, like there were some parts like I kind of disagree in some ways. There were parts where it did kind of get louder, especially like in the beginning when it said stretched out. It like started out a little lower, then it got louder progressively, and like that like through the song. Also, I kind of like the play on when they would say girl, it would get higher, or when they would say boy, it would like have more depth to it, just signifying like which like person that we would like listen to.
I'm Journey, and after first listen, I said that it sounded very peaceful and warm and kind of emotional. The harmonies were so smooth that it sounded like everyone had the same sonic signature. Like I couldn't really identify like who was singing what notes. Obviously during the first listen, I wasn't aware of what the lyrics were, but I did sense a bit of change in the dynamic, and it made the ending feel like it had a little bit more suspension. But I did decipher the word stretched out, and I think that that's an example of word painting, because when they sang stretched out, the notes were longer. Yes.
So for our second listen, we picked up quite a bit of timestamps that we're all gonna share with each other. And one of the ones I picked up, and it started at second 30, was the phrase talking about a boy and a girl was mentioned like every 1 or 2 minutes. Felt like they were trying to tell us how the relationship was going.
Alright, for my second listen, as for timestamps, I didn't really put a specific one. I put sort of ranges to each timestamp. So from the beginning of the song to around 44, 45 seconds, sort of like a ascension kind of vibe, like you're getting lifted up, you're getting maybe some type of motivation, gratification, maybe some sort of appraisal. Then towards 46 to 1 minute 49, there's like a sort of build up to something, maybe like a kind of group bond, or maybe kind of like treading through the meadows kind of vibe, especially like, very couple-like. Then it kind of dies down. It gets to the kind of like deep, smooth, low melody. Then it kind of transitions to 2 minutes 30 with kind of like a slow increase to a kind of climax, maybe finale. And then towards the end, they start humming, kind of like signifying the end to something. So.
All right, so for me, I didn't really have any many points. Just that 20 seconds, it went really quiet, and then like the melody began, where they started saying the boy and the girl.
Throughout the song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, throughout the song, I felt like the same way. Like they would like say the boy and a girl, like high pitched, and then they would go quiet, and then towards the end of the song, I saw like they started humming, like you said.
Yeah, for me, like it goes in waves, like up, down, piano, forte.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I felt.
And yeah, like at 0 seconds in, like it starts off with like stretched out. That's like in the very beginning of the song. I think it parallels like life in a way. The like word painting of it was like sort of imitating life in that, but in the beginning you have a very waveless of motion, and it has like it's like a word painting metaphor of like life and like how it has its ups and downs. So
Right.
Yeah, I wrote the same thing. I did put the time set 0 seconds, and I said that it made me feel like really at peace because it was like slow and not a lot was going on. And I feel like what Caleb said, like it can kind of be like you can relate that back to life, because when you're first born, like you're not really doing much. Like life is slow, and you don't like have memory of that until you're like a certain like age,
Yeah, it definitely changes a lot, like from high to low. Like it's like how Caleb said, like it has like the waves in the song, and that's definitely something that like I took note of. Like I feel like there wasn't really anything else to timestamp. Like it was mostly just like the changes in the pitch of the song. But yeah.
I agree a lot with what he said. He did mention climax, and at a minute and 28 seconds, the higher pitch really stood out to me because it felt really intense, like a climax, and then it just settled back down.
I found whenever it settled down was like close to the end, at like 3 minutes, like 15. I put,
Yeah.
they said giving silence for silence, talking about the relationship that they were in.
At minute 3:40, I felt like the die down is like the death.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was more like,
end
A
to the-
potential.
yeah, and
That's
it
what
was
I
much
read.
more like
The
sad. Like
couple.
instead of like the happy
Yeah.
angelic vibe in the beginning, it got more to like a little bit sadder and calmer than it was.
Yeah, at 4 minutes there was just, you know, it had a lower pitch to it. It had like a lower timbre to it. The timbre was at a much lower sort of frequency than it was in the beginning.
Well, maybe that could be like an ambiguous thing, right? Like, there are a lot of choirs do that where they kind of have the music die down, and you don't really know what direction they took in terms of
Yeah, it's
how
very,
it plays out.
it's a very mysterious and unpredictable song in my opinion. It had me guessing throughout my listens. Like I couldn't really have a grip on like the pattern to it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with Caleb. I said it that towards the end there was a lot of like suspension because like I wasn't expecting the song to end that way since it started like the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And even with all like the dynamics, it all felt very like legato and very connected from the beginning to the end for me.
I would say going back to the silence scene that Jackson was talking about, like that was a really good example of word painting. Like when they said silence and then it got silent. I think another like important thing that I took was like when they were talking about the grass and then they were talking about the ocean. It was very different. Like in the two different verses. Like with the grass, it was more light, it was more airy. But when they were talking about the ocean, it kind of got a little more deeper, like it had more depth to it. So that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And then we eventually looked up the lyrics, and I felt like listening or reading the lyrics and then listening to it again really helped me connect with the vibe I was getting from the song. So like when I looked it up, it said The Boy and the Girl was actually a romantic piece of music, and it was actually called The Lovers. And initially it was a boy and a girl giving their oranges, which is their way of giving kisses to each other. And then I also said they're savoring limes, which is like clouds, and the clouds are also giving kisses to each other. And then I wrote after that they went underground and it was silence.
Yeah, I feel like once I searched up what the words actually meant, this song made a lot more sense to me because like the lyrics really have to do with why the song is like going up and down and up and down. Like for me, the connection that I made with the lyrics to the song was like, I felt like it was two people being in love, obviously, but from when they were young until they were old. Like when they were young, it was very happy, it was very like light. They said the clouds, like the kisses, whatever. And then the second one, like how you said, it was deeper, it was like the ocean, and even like the limes, like it was like a little bit more sour than like when you're first like so young and in love and stuff like that. And then the final verse was when it was silence and they were like obviously like dead or like whatever, like we said. But like to me, I said like the song was calmer towards the end and a little bit sadder, but like it still kind of finished in the same like happy way that it started. Like to me, the way that I interpreted that was more like they're still together even though they're not. Like their silence is what they still share together. That's what I got from the lyrics.
Based off that, the author or director, Eric Whitecare, he based it off of a Mexican poem, and in the poem, it's about a couple and how they live their life and the time that passes, but then over time, they obviously die, and then so you can feel that in his song, as like at the end it starts like feeling like a funeral type vibes.
Yeah, I think it was intentional that the song really had no rhythm to it. Like it was entirely a cappella with voices on it, and that's like I think that was an intentional choice by the author because the composer like intentionally picked the instruments being nothing but voices because like in life you can have like swings in life, but there's no consistent theme in life.
Right.
And I think the choice to have no instrumentals and no music other than voices is like has it like, it's not consistent, you know. Even in the delivery of it, it's more jagged. Like the color of it, it's like slightly different each time they repeat the chorus.
Yeah.
I want to go off of what you said, right? I'm gonna like paint a picture somewhat. The story of A Boy and a Girl by Eric Whitacre, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce his last name. It is based off a Mexican poet, translated to English by another guy, right? And when we searched it up the first time, it brought up a lot of the afterlife. And as most may know, Mexico does a lot with the afterlife and, you know, diving into maybe the underworld or a kind of a heaven of some sorts. And maybe that's what the whole song's alluding to, you know. It's kind of like they kind of live together, and then whether or not the song ends on them potentially being underground, still living happily in whatever Mexican tradition calls it, or maybe it's just paints it pitch black. Maybe that's where their story ends, but yeah.
That's a really good take.
Yeah.
Yes.
I noticed that death wasn't presented as something scary. It was actually like really beautiful. And after I listened the third time and I knew the backstory, I found it even more romantic and meaningful.
Yeah.
I think the representation of death in Boy and a Girl is not like entire silence. Like there's still like a melody of it, but it's not like word, because it's kind of like humorous in a way, because like before they were like exchanging oranges and exchanging lines, so now they're just exchanging silence with silence. And the ending of it wasn't really an ending. It was just like the voices were still like warbling a little bit. It wasn't complete silence. So I think, you know, I think it's really like chronicling a love through the lens of an outsider, like appreciating your love.
So when you said the afterlife, do you think there's a breakup, or do you think someone died? Like,
I think a lot of Mexican film and novels, novellas as they call it, they end on happy endings. So I think they do live together peacefully in some way, right? Like maybe it doesn't really end at, you know, them dying. Maybe it kind of just leads you to assume that they go off together, and that's where it ends, right? So maybe they kind of go together.
I think that could be supported if you take the 4 minutes in, or like 4:30, where the song, like, it reaches its climax, but then it doesn't entirely dissipate. It just keeps on with the voices, and it just holds notes, and you know, it doesn't. There's never like a moment where it's completely like down after that, because it always resurfaces like the waves.
It's not clear.
Yeah. Going off of what Martin said, the question that Jackson asked was actually really like insightful, because the way that I took it, because at the end it says, stretched out underground, a boy and a girl saying nothing, never kissing, giving silence for silence. I thought they died, but after what Martin said, like, just because they're not sharing things anymore, like actually physically doing it, I don't think that means that they died. They're just not, like, even if they did, they're continuing on. They're just not like physically, like, after you die and you go, you can still be with that person, I think.
Yeah, the song is very spiritual in that sense, because it's not two people. It's like a whole like retinue of people, like in a circle, in the semicircle, singing it, and the dissonance of it. It's kind of like giving it a more universal feel to it, because it's not just like solitary voices, but it's a lot of voices melded together. So maybe the composer is speaking to a more universal experience of love, rather than just a personal feeling of love between two people.
Yeah.
So after listening to the lyrics of the piece, first listen, and all the timestamps going back, I felt like after the final listen, and like what I truly thought like it meant was that the boy and the girl lyrics matched exactly what it sounded like at the beginning. Of like the pitch was like high, the singers were narrating a story about two people that loved each other and they were in a relationship. And then what you said about the stretched out, and savoring, they were every other paragraph when I looked at the lyrics. And I thought that was an example of leitmotif, as I felt like the piece wanted to explain the two words showing care and affection to each other. And then I also thought that it was like loud and bright every time they sang. And I felt like the lyrics saying, or whenever towards the end, it switched to the lyrics saying nothing, never kissing, never giving silence for silence, as you said before. And I thought it indicated the ending of their relationship, or as you said, maybe something else. That's what I believe.
So going off what you said at the end, that last stanza from the poem, it helped me really understand or like visually see that there is the ending, a clear ending to the song.
Yes, because the ending, like, death is like, I think the composer is saying like death is like the great breakup, like you can't carry your relationship with you into the end, which is why the song has a more monotonous like feel to it. Like before it was really high pitched, but by the 4-minute mark it was really like lower pitched and had a deeper, more it had a more like gravelly color to it.
Yeah, but I feel like, at least for me, like what the composer was trying to say, instead of like what you just said, it was more that even though two people are gone, like they can still be together, kind of like how you said. Like that's what I felt from that, and I feel like after reading the lyrics and like knowing what the song was really about, like how you said, the lyrics do match what the song is like saying and like bringing out. And yeah, I was just like, it was a good vibe for me, the whole song, just like very calm.
I think that because we all have like different beliefs on what happens when you die, that we all interpret the ending a different way.
Yeah.
I really agree with her. I think the composer wanted us to like not feel rushed because they knew that they would have an afterlife or something.
Yeah, like feel hopeful in a way.
Yeah.
I kind of believe a little bit what you said. I think it's up for interpretation because like how you guys like found your interpretation. I thought it was kind of like a bit of like the ebbs and flows through like love and like how you go through that, like the good, and then you kind of go down to the bad, and then at the end it's just fulfilling, it's silence. You know, so that's how I kind of thought of it. So it's just interesting to see the different like interpretations.
Yeah, which is supported by its melodies. Like the main melody of it is just like going up and down, and this is a consistent theme throughout the story. And even when it's near the end, it still follows that formula of the going up and down, which is very unique.
The song felt a lot like a journey throughout life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I really got from the song. Maybe like the overall theme could be like love is always incorporated like throughout your life.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
It was.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
This is our TED Talk.
All right. Thank you.
Wow. Bye.
Please give us the 100.
Please.